Silent watchers. Commander Vex Quintero stood motionless before the holographic display that dominated the observation deck of IO station. His weathered face, illuminated by the soft blue glow of Jupiter looming in the background, betrayed nothing of the tension coursing through him. 3 years of patient surveillance was about to pay off. Confirmation, Commander, Lieutenant Darin Okafer's voice broke the silence. The Malachar harvester has entered the system, trajectory consistent with previous patterns. Quintero nodded, his dark eyes never leaving the display where a massive vessel, nearly the size of Earth's moon, materialized as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Malachar Dominion had arrived, exactly as intelligence had predicted. Designation, Quintero asked, his voice calm despite the historical significance of this moment. Their transponder identifies it as unyielding prosperity, Okafor replied, fingers dancing across his console, consistent with their naming conventions for resource extraction vessels. For 3 centuries, the Malachar Dominion had carved a path of systematic exploitation across this arm of the galaxy. Their massive harvester ships descended upon worlds rich in resources, stripping them bare before moving on. Resistance was met with overwhelming force, followed by calculated examples of cruelty to ensure compliance from any survivors. The pattern never varied: scout, assess, harvest, depart. What the Malachar didn't know, what humanity had taken extraordinary measures to conceal, was that Earth had been watching them for decades. Maintain observational protocols, Quintero ordered, full passive scanning only, no active emissions. He tapped his neural interface, opening a secure channel to Earth Defense Force headquarters. This is Quintero. Operation Blind Eye is in effect. The Malachar have arrived. Across the solar system, hidden observation posts powered down to their minimal stealth configurations. Humanity had prepared for this moment since first detecting Malachar scout ships at the edge of their territory 15 years earlier. Instead of announcing themselves or attempting diplomatic contact, Earth's leadership had made an unprecedented decision. They would hide their true capabilities and allow the Malachar to underestimate them. The gambit had worked perfectly. 2 years ago, Malachar scouts had observed the human colony on Europa, deliberately designed to appear technologically primitive. The scouts had departed, classifying humans as a non-threat species in their database. They're deploying scanning drones toward Ganymede, reported Tactical Officer Juno Nakamura, her fingers tracing the movement of smaller signatures breaking away from the massive harvester. Quintero's neural interface chimed with an incoming priority communication. The austere face of Admiral Takeshi Yamamoto, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, appeared in his visual field. "Is it confirmed, Commander?" Yamamoto asked without preamble. "Yes, Admiral. The Malachar harvester Unyielding Prosperity has entered the system and is conducting preliminary scans of Ganymede. All indications suggest they intend to harvest as predicted." Yamamoto's expression remained stoic, but Quintero could detect the subtle signs of tension in the slight narrowing of his eyes. "Then it's time. Project Nemesis is authorized. Stand by for Phase 1 implementation." The communication ended, and Quintero turned to his crew. "Prepare for immediate evacuation. We have 18 hours to clear all personnel from IO station and implement ghost protocols." As his team sprang into action, Quintero allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humanity had spent decades constructing an elaborate deception, maintaining outdated-looking outposts, using inefficient propulsion systems when Malachar scouts might be watching, and hiding their true technological advancement in underground facilities on Earth, Mars, and Titan. All to prepare for this moment. 12 hours later, Quintero stood on the bridge of the EDF Phantom, a stealth transport vessel evacuating the last personnel from IO station. Through the viewport, he watched as the automated systems on IO initiated the Ghost Protocol, making it appear as though the station had been hastily abandoned upon detection of the Malachar vessel. "Transit complete, Commander," reported the pilot. "Course set for Titan Base." Quintero nodded and moved to the secure communications bay. Captain Haruki Tanaka of the UNSC Harbinger was waiting for his update. The quantum-encrypted connection established instantaneously, revealing Tanaka's stern features. At 42, Tanaka was the youngest captain ever to command an Artemis-class warship, the pinnacle of Earth's hidden military technology. "The Malachar have taken the bait," Quintero reported. They're beginning preliminary harvesting operations on Ganymede exactly as predicted. Tanaka's expression remained neutral, but a dangerous light kindled in his eyes. And the colony. Evacuated 3 weeks ago, the automated systems are maintaining the illusion of habitation. The Malachar sensors aren't sophisticated enough to detect the difference. Good, Tanaka replied. The Harbinger is in position, hidden in Saturn's rings. The rest of the fleet is maintaining position behind Neptune's magnetic shadow. Once the Malachar commit fully to the harvesting operation, they'll be unable to escape quickly. Quintero felt a grim satisfaction. Earth's strategy, letting the Malachar believe humans were primitive while secretly building a formidable defense force, had been controversial. Many had argued for immediate first contact when the Malachar were first detected. Others had pushed for preemptive strikes. But cooler heads had prevailed, recognizing that humanity needed time to understand their adversary and develop countermeasures. What about Project Nemesis? Quintero asked. Fully operational, Tanaka replied. Admiral Wei is personally overseeing final preparations on Luna Base. Once the Malachar harvester moves toward Earth's moon as predicted, we'll spring the trap. The strategic genius of Earth's plan lay in its patience. After observing the Malachar's operational patterns across dozens of star systems, human intelligence had identified their critical vulnerability. The Malachar were creatures of habit, following the same tactical doctrines they'd used for centuries because they'd never faced serious opposition. After finishing their work on Ganymede, they would inevitably target Earth's resource-rich moon next. Commander, Lieutenant Akafer interrupted, we're receiving a priority alert from Forward Observation Post Delta. The Malachar are deploying harvester drones to Ganymede's surface. On screen, Quintero ordered. The display showed massive machines descending to Ganymede's icy surface, their enormous processing units beginning to break down the moon's resources with terrifying efficiency. The Malachar harvester hovered above, its colossal frame dwarfing anything humanity had publicly displayed. They're following the exact pattern observed at Proxima Centauri's fourth planet, Quintero noted. Methodical and predictable. Tanaka nodded. That predictability will be their downfall. Our simulations give us a 94% probability they'll target Luna next, after approximately 7 Earth days of operations at Ganymede. And if they deviate from pattern, Quintero asked. Then we adapt, Tanaka replied simply. But they won't. The Malachar haven't faced a real threat in centuries. They have no reason to change tactics. As the Phantom accelerated toward Titan, Quintero watched the distant shape of the Malachar harvester on the long-range sensors. For 300 years, they had encountered no species capable of challenging them. Their arrogance had become their strategy. They no longer believed resistance was possible. 6 days later, Quintero stood in the command center of Titan Base, watching as the Malachar harvester completed its operations at Ganymede. The moon's surface had been systematically stripped of valuable minerals and compounds, leaving vast trenches and craters where extraction had occurred. They're powering up their main drives, reported the sensor officer. Trajectory calculations indicate they're heading toward Earth's lunar orbit. Quintero opened a channel to the UNSC Harbinger. Captain Tanaka, they're on the move. Trajectory confirms they're heading for Luna. Tanaka's face appeared on the display, his eyes gleaming with fierce determination. Acknowledged, Commander. All fleet elements are in position. Project Nemesis is armed and ready. We await Admiral Wei's command. On the Malachar harvester Unyielding Prosperity, Overseer Traz examined the scan data from the small blue planet and its surprisingly resource-rich satellite. Another routine harvest awaited them. The primitive bipeds detected on the outer moon would pose no threat. Their rudimentary technology and apparent lack of unified military capability had already earned them classification as a non-threat species. Traz didn't know it yet, but the Malachar Dominion was about to encounter something they hadn't faced in 3 centuries. An adversary who had studied them, prepared for them, and was waiting with deliberate purpose. As the massive harvester altered course toward Earth's moon, Admiral Zhen Wei stood in the hidden command center deep beneath the lunar surface, watching the approach of humanity's first true interstellar adversary. All units, this is Admiral Wei, she broadcast across the secure quantum network to Earth's hidden fleet. Operation Reckoning is authorized. I say again, Reckoning is authorized. The Malachar have preyed upon peaceful worlds for 3 centuries. Today that ends. Throughout the solar system, Earth's concealed warships powered up their systems and prepared to reveal themselves. The UNSC Harbinger, most advanced of them all, emerged from Saturn's rings, its matte black hull absorbing rather than reflecting light as it accelerated toward Earth at impossible speed. The trap was set, humanity was ready. The Malachar Dominion was about to learn they had gravely miscalculated. Reckoning. Overseer Traz stood on the command deck of the unyielding Prosperity, his four elongated digits tapping rhythmically against the metallic surface of his tactical console. The blue-green planet and its pale satellite grew larger on the main view screen as the massive harvester ship approached. Final approach to target satellite, announced Navigation Officer Mekri, her scaled skin reflecting the amber glow of her workstation. Preliminary scans indicate exceptional mineral wealth, particularly in the regions facing away from the primary planet. Traz's lipless mouth curved into what passed for a smile among the Malachar. This will be a most profitable harvest. The Dominion will be pleased. For 3 centuries, the Malachar had encountered no meaningful resistance. Occasionally, a species would mount a desperate defense of their homeworld, but such futile gestures were quickly crushed. The Malachar's technological superiority was absolute, or so they believed. Overseer, called Security Chief Varn, his voice carrying an unusual note of concern. Sensors are detecting an anomaly on the far side of the satellite. Traz turned, mandibles clicking in irritation at the interruption. Explain. There appears to be a small shadow where none should exist. It could be a sensor malfunction. Recalibrate and confirm, Traz ordered dismissively. The Malachar prided themselves on their technical precision. A sensor malfunction was a rarity but not impossible. Varn worked his console, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of growing alarm among his species. Recalibration complete, but the anomaly remains. In fact, it appears to be moving. Before Traz could respond, Communication Officer Drask cut in. Overseer, we're receiving a transmission in perfect Malachar language. Origin point is the anomaly. The command deck fell silent. The Malachar language was notoriously complex, with tonal qualities that most species found impossible to replicate. For a primitive race to broadcast in flawless Malachar suggested something impossible. Play the transmission, Traz ordered, his confidence wavering for the first time. A calm, measured voice filled the command center. Malachar Harvester Unyielding Prosperity, this is Admiral Zhen Wei of the United Nations Space Command. Your harvesting operations in this and all neighboring sectors are hereby terminated. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Stunned silence gripped the command deck. Traz recovered first, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Preposterous, return scan, I want identification of that vessel immediately. But before the scan could complete, the shadow detached itself from the lunar surface, revealing a sleek, matte black warship approximately 1/4 the size of the Harvester. Its design was unlike anything in the Malachar database, predatory and purposeful. Defensive protocols, Traz shouted, raise shields and power weapons. The crew scrambled to comply, but with a speed that defied the Malachar's understanding of physics, the human vessel closed the distance. Across the Harvester's hull, precision energy beams struck critical systems with surgical accuracy. Shield generators exploded in sequence before they could fully activate. Impossible, Security Chief Varn shouted as alarms blared throughout the massive ship. They're targeting systems. They knew exactly where to strike. Traz stared in disbelief as the main view screen suddenly filled with additional contacts. Dozens of warships emerging from concealed positions throughout the system, all converging on the Harvester's position. Return fire, Traz ordered, desperation coloring his voice. The Harvester's weapon systems activated, sending a barrage of destructive energy toward the human ship. The smaller vessel moved with uncanny agility, evading most impacts while the few direct hits dissipated harmlessly against shields far more advanced than anything the Malachar possessed. Navigation Officer Mekri worked frantically at her console. Overseer, propulsion systems damaged, we cannot achieve escape velocity. Admiral Wei's voice came through the communication system again, now broadcasting on all frequencies. Your species has prospered through systematic exploitation and destruction. You mistook humanity's restraint for weakness, our careful observation for ignorance. That was a critical error. On the tactical display, smaller craft detached from the human warships, approaching the Harvester from multiple vectors. Boarding parties, Security Chief Varn reported, fear evident in his posture. Multiple breach points projected. Traz faced a decision no Malachar overseer had confronted in centuries of unopposed expansion. Prepare self-destruct protocols. We cannot allow our technology to fall into their hands. But before the sequence could be initiated, precision strikes disabled the Harvester's central command systems. The self-destruct mechanisms went dark. How, Traz whispered, how did they know exactly where to target? Intelligence Officer Kren looked up from her console, horror dawning in her expression. Overseer, I've analyzed their attack pattern. They've been studying us for years, perhaps decades. They know our ship schematics, our tactical doctrines, everything. The revelation struck Traz like a physical blow. The Malachar Dominion had grown complacent in their supremacy, never considering that a seemingly primitive species might be concealing their true capabilities, watching and learning. Throughout the massive harvester, boarding craft attached to the hull. Advanced cutting tools, far beyond what the Malachar had believed humans capable of producing, sliced through the outer plating with ease. On the command deck, Traz and his officers could only wait as the internal security feeds showed armored human soldiers moving through the ship with practiced efficiency, neutralizing resistance with non-lethal weapons. They're taking prisoners, Varn observed with disbelief, not exterminating. The command deck doors slid open, revealing Lieutenant Nadia Volkov and her tactical team. Unlike the crude spacesuits the Malachar had observed humans wearing at their Europa colony, these soldiers wore advanced combat armor that seemed to flow with their movements. Overseer Traz, Volkov addressed him directly, her helmet retracting to reveal a human face with piercing gray eyes. You are hereby taken into custody for crimes against sentient species across 12 star systems. Traz straightened to his full height. How do you know my name? How do you know our language? We've been watching you for 15 years, Volkov replied calmly, learning everything about you while allowing you to see only what we wanted you to see. As Traz and his command staff were escorted from the deck, Admiral Wei's holographic projection materialized, her austere features radiating authority. Overseer Traz, I am authorizing Lieutenant Volkov to bring you to Luna Command for diplomatic discussions. The age of Malachar harvesting ends today. Within hours, Traz found himself seated in a conference room beneath the lunar surface, surrounded by the evidence of human technological advancement that had been deliberately hidden from Malachar observation. The underground facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, a feat of engineering that rivaled anything in the Dominion. Admiral Wei entered, accompanied by a diplomatic team. She placed a data crystal on the table between them. This contains evidence of 372 planetary harvesting operations conducted by the Malachar Dominion, 17 species driven to extinction, 42 pushed to the brink of collapse. Traz's mandibles clicked in defensive posture. We have the right to resource acquisition. The strong survive the weak. Spare me your social Darwinism, Wei interrupted. It's merely a justification for theft and murder on a galactic scale. She activated a holographic display showing the full Earth defense fleet now surrounding the disabled harvester. The images revealed dozens of warships with capabilities far beyond what Traz had believed possible for humans. You could have been allies, Wei continued. When your scouts first entered our system, we could have greeted you as equals. Instead, we watched how you operated. We saw what you did to the Centauri colonies, so we made a different choice. Understanding dawned on Traz. The primitive outposts, the outdated technology, it was all a deception, Wei confirmed. While you observed our decoy colonies and classified us as harmless, we studied your every weakness. We built this, she gestured to encompass the advanced facility, all while letting you believe we were barely capable of interplanetary travel. Captain Haruki Tanaka entered the conference room, his uniform bearing the insignia of the UNSC Harbinger. Admiral, the quantum transmission is ready. The Malachar Dominion Central Command has acknowledged receipt of our terms. Wei nodded and turned back to Traz. Here is humanity's message to the Malachar Dominion. Your harvesting operations will cease immediately across all sectors. A joint inspection team comprising representatives from 12 species who have suffered under your predation will verify compliance. Reparations will be negotiated. And if the Dominion refuses? Traz asked, already knowing the answer. Wei's expression remained impassive. Then we will demonstrate that humanity does not stand alone. The illusion of Malachar invincibility ends today. She activated another holographic display showing dozens of previously subjugated species now rising in coordinated rebellion across the galaxy, armed with human technology and tactical guidance. While you were watching us, we were reaching out to others who suffered under your harvesting operations, Commander Vex Quintero explained as he entered the room. Forming alliances, sharing technology, preparing for this day. The Orion Cooperative, Wei added. 53 species united against exploitation and conquest. Earth is merely one member, though I'll admit, we've been particularly motivated to see your harvesting operations end. For the first time in his long life, Traz understood true defeat. The Malachar had never faced an adversary who outthought rather than outfought them, who had the patience to conceal their true strength until the perfect moment to strike. Within days, the news spread across the galaxy. The Malachar Dominion had been forced to accept terms, their mystique of invincibility shattered by humans, a species they had dismissed as primitive and inconsequential. 1 month later, Admiral Wei stood on the observation deck of Luna Command, watching as the reformed Malachar diplomatic vessel departed Earth orbit. Beside her, Commander Quintero and Captain Tanaka observed in thoughtful silence. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement?" Tanaka asked finally. Wei's gaze remained on the departing ship. "They'll honor it because they have no choice. The other members of the cooperative are already dismantling their harvesting operations across the Orion Arm. The age of predatory expansion is over." Quintero nodded slowly. 300 years of unchallenged conquest ended because they couldn't recognize a trap until they were already caught in it. "That's the advantage of patience," Wei replied. "While they saw only what was on the surface, we built something they couldn't imagine beneath it." As the Malachar ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Wei turned to her officers. "Humanity's first interstellar conflict is concluded, gentlemen, not with the massive casualties many feared, but with strategic thinking and calculated restraint." "And the message?" Tanaka asked. Wei smiled slightly. "I believe it was received clearly enough. Sometimes the most powerful statement isn't made with words but with steel and the wisdom to know exactly when to reveal it." Across the stars, other predatory empires reassessed their expansion plans as news of the Malachar defeat spread. The species that had been dismissed as barely spacefaring had orchestrated the downfall of the most feared harvesting force in the galaxy. Earth had sent its message, not just to the Malachar, but to all who might have similar ambitions. The age of unchecked exploitation was over. A new equilibrium had begun.